Welcome to our YouTube channel, Zest Study.
Welcome to our YouTube channel Zest Study. Today we are going to discuss about Nepal's education system, Corona's influence, and alternative measures of teaching activities. First, we talk about historical background of Nepal's education system. Before the unification of Nepal, the Gurukul system under traditional Hindu Vedic education and the Gamba education system based on Buddhist philosophy were in vogue in Nepal. Even after the unification of Nepal, the state did not take education under its responsibility and used to raise funds for the education sector from various religious organizations, trusts, personal donations and government grants. The English education system was introduced in Nepal with the establishment of Darbar High School in 1910 BS. Higher education started in 1975 with the establishment of Trichandra College. Until the Rana rule, access to education in Nepal was limited to individuals and communities. According to the 2007 academic data, Nepal's literacy rate was only 2%. Until 2007, there were 321 primary schools, 11 secondary schools, and only Trichandra College under higher education. Source: Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. With the end of the Rana regime and the advent of democracy in the country, the government took initiatives for the development of Nepal's education sector by opening schools for the general public and educating children. With the advent of democracy in 2007 and 2046 BS, many policy arrangements have been made for the development and expansion of the education sector. The Nepal National Education Planning Commission first laid the foundation of the national education system in 2011 for the improvement of the education system in Nepal. Similarly, an attempt was made to change education in a timely manner by forming an all-round National Education Committee in 2018 BS. The foundation of the new education system in Nepal is considered the National Education System 2028. Similarly, various projects and programs have been launched since 2037 BS to expand access to schools and higher education and increase quality. Among them are community school support programs, food programs for education, school sector improvement plan, higher education project first and second, skill project for employment, vocational education and training enhancement project. After the restoration of democracy in 2046 BS, a 16-member National Education Commission was formed under the coordination of the then Education Minister Govinda Raj Joshi to make suggestions for the improvement in the education sector. For the first time in the history of Nepal, the Interim Constitution of Nepal 2063 BS guaranteed education as a fundamental right. At the same time, a federal system of government has been established in the country, and at the same time, many policy reforms have been taking place in the education sector. After that, the legal provisions made in education mainly include the training policy of the Educational Manpower Training Development Center 2063, the guideline on the use of information and communication technology in school education 2063, the Comprehensive School Safety Implementation Strategy 2073, Formal and Distance Learning Policy 2075, Comprehensive School Safety Communication Strategy 2075, Presidential Educational Reform Program Implementation 2076, COVID-19 Contingency Plan 2020, Study Learning Facilitation Guideline 2077 from Alternative System, etc. The Constitution of Nepal provides for the right to education under Article 31 of the Fundamental Rights Act, which guarantees access to basic education to all citizens. Similarly, Education up to basic level is compulsory and free, and education up to secondary level is free. Similarly, the 15th plan has also adopted education as an important strategy for sustainable peace and prosperity of the country. At the same time, the government of Nepal has stood by Nepal in favor of international treaties, including the 1948 Declaration and the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child, and aims to establish easy access to education for all. The current state of education. As of 2076-77, there are about 30,039 communities and 6,411 institutional and 36,450 child development centers in Nepal. The total enrollment rate of early childhood development students has reached 86.2%. In the fiscal year 2075-76 BS, 100 more schools have been selected for the development of model schools by selecting secondary schools to enhance the quality of community schools. So far, the number of such schools has reached 322. Institutional access to technical education has reached 607 out of 753 local levels across the country. In the academic session 2075-76, the teaching of technical education has been expanded to 103 local levels. In order to declare Nepal literate, 53 districts have been declared literate under the Literate Nepal 2076 program. Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. By the fiscal year 2076-77, 22,29,324 students have benefited from the lunch program conducted in 43 districts. In addition to the government of Nepal, with the support of the World Food Programme, a lunch program is being conducted for 1,80,000 students from 9 different districts. Computer facilities are available in 8,366 out of 29,607 community schools across the country. Of these schools, information technology has been used in the teaching and learning activities of 3,376 schools. Information technology laboratories have been established in 1,000 secondary schools in the fiscal year 2075-76 with the aim of expanding the facilities of information technology in all secondary schools to ensure quality education by bringing more effectiveness in teaching and learning through the use of information technology. In the academic session 2076, a total of 35,520 schools are in operation in Nepal, of which 35,063 schools are operating at basic 1 to 5 level, 16,670 schools at basic 6 to 8 level, and 35,262 schools at basic level 1 to 8. Similarly, 10,889 schools are in operation from secondary level 9 to 12, out of which 4,187 schools have class 11 to 12 level operation. The highest number of schools is in Bagmati, 19.8%, and the lowest in Karnali, 8.9%. There are 27,704 community schools, 6,687 institutional schools, and 1,129 religious schools in all the 9,35,200 schools across the country. Source: Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. There are 27,692 community schools, 6,441 institutional schools, and 34,133 schools in the primary level, 1 to 8. There are 7,105 community schools and 3,745 institutional schools in the secondary level from 9 to 12. In the academic session 2076 BS, out of the total 3,16,835 teachers in community and institutional schools, about 40% are female teachers. The proportion of female teachers in community schools is 32.7%, while in the institutional sector, it is 46.7%. Bagmati has the highest number of teachers, about 20%, while Karnali has the lowest number of teachers with 7.7%. Source: Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. In the academic session 2076 BS, the number of community and institutional students from class 1 to 12 is 81.27 million. The total number of students in class 11 and 12 alone is 3,49,603 and 2,92,153 respectively. In the same academic session, the number of students studying in the universities operating across the country is about 5,38,000. Of the 11 universities in operation, the highest percentage is 77%, 4,15,482 in Tribi, and the lowest number of students, 191, is Rajarshi Janak University. Similarly, 3,247 students are studying in 6 health science academies. During this period, the University Grants Commission has provided quality assurance and guarantee certificates to a total of 46 educational institutions out of a total of 16. Corona's origins and its impact on education. In December 2019, the first human coronavirus, COVID-19 virus, was confirmed in Wuhan, China. Since then, the world has been plagued by the corona epidemic. In the case of Nepal, a Nepali student who returned to Nepal from Wuhan, China on 9th January 2020 was confirmed to have coronavirus on January 23rd at the Shahid Shukraj Tropical Center. The corona epidemic has had a direct impact on the entire social, economic, political, and educational spheres and is now halting economic and social activity around the world. There is a situation. Now, more than 1.3 billion students worldwide are closed due to COVID-19. In the case of Nepal too, about 8.8 million students have been deprived of education in schools and higher education, CTEVT, other technical and non-technical ones. As it is impossible to conduct the C examination, which is in full readiness due to corona, the decision of the Council of Ministers on 28 June 2077 BS has solved the confusion related to school-level examination by directing the school to send this year's marks through internal evaluation and certify by NEM. On the other hand, there is still confusion about the examinations of the entire education sector including class 12, undergraduate, postgraduate, higher level, CTEVT. Students and parents are all in a dilemma as to what will happen to the postponed examinations during the conduct of examinations in various departments at the postgraduate level. According to the WFO, about 370 million students worldwide depend on schools for nutritious food, and all of them have been deprived of food for the past 4 months. In particular, the teaching and learning of children has been affected, and the education, health and nutrition of marginalized and deprived children have been adversely affected. According to the Malala Fund, which focuses on education and especially women's education, about 10 million female students have been affected by the corona massacre, unable to return to school regularly. It is estimated that the number of school-age girls will be more. Malala Fund. China accounts for 33.7% of international students in US university education and India for 18.4%, and the majority of students do not return because of corona, which will have an impact on the US economy and in the end on human resource development. In more than 150 countries around the world, educational institutions have been completely or partially closed, leaving 82% of teachers jobless, and past epidemics suggest that some teachers may change their teaching profession or seek alternative resources. Especially in less developed and developing countries, teachers face more challenges. Even after the Ebola epidemic, in countries like Sierra Leone and Liberia, it is difficult for teachers to return to their old condition, and the government has not taken any initiative to solve the problem. Maybe in the process. Opportunities created by Corona. Although the coronavirus is negative for everyone, it has also created some opportunities in various other fields, including education. The positive changes and opportunities it has created in the education system of Nepal and other countries can be mentioned in this way. Point: it has been realized that by updating oneself according to the time environment, one should be ready to learn and teach through them by finding alternative means of teaching and learning. Point: priority has been given to education sector priorities, medium of construction, medium delivery system, reforming, restructuring in school education, and this is likely to shift the paradigm of the educational world through scientific management. Point: the habit of using technology is developing. There is also an opportunity to continue learning through teaching and learning in online and offline mode. Point: learning facilitation has developed a habit of self-study through the use of technology along with ample opportunities for capacity building. Point: in the current situation, for the continuation of teaching activities, the existing system and the constitutional system itself is changing, and it should be understood as a paradigm shift in educational development and education sector. Point: online learning and changing environments have led to increased dual accountability between parents and students. Current efforts done by government. Point: alternative learning programs have been implemented around the world through various platforms including online class, virtual class, Zoom Meet, Google Classroom model, Microsoft Team through radio, FM, television, and internet depending on the access and adequacy of resources. Point: as it is not possible to run face-to-face classes, some universities around the world have formally discontinued direct classes and introduced virtual classes. The University of Washington in the United States has announced a complete ban on direct classes. Corona's influence is diminishing. In relatively declining countries such as China, South Korea, Germany, Thailand, etc., some schools have been opened with extreme caution due to partial social distance, but nowhere is it possible to run schools and educational institutions completely safely. Point: in some places, schools and universities are carrying out printing educational materials and delivering materials to students through email. Point: in the context of Nepal, various associations and educational organizations, societies, and the government of Nepal have been providing online training to teachers through educational training centers. The university is conducting various types of online training, and in the meantime, the Ministry of Education has made final preparations to give instructions to the government on virtual classroom and examination operation based on the report of the study task force formed under the leadership of Tribhuvan University Rector Pradot Shivlal Bhusan. Kathmandu University and other universities have been conducting online classes through various mediums. Kathmandu University has implemented the decision of awarding certificates to students based on the evaluation of teachers by conducting examinations through various means internally. In the case of CTEVT, the final decision does not appear to have been made. The best community and institutional schools in the country are using technology to the best of their ability to conduct part-time classes for students. Various schools are conducting classes using their own YouTube channels, radio, television, and other tools and Google Apps. Almost all the schools across the country have been distributing books to the students and providing continuity of learning through phone, messenger, Viber, WhatsApp and other means. Facilitating teaching and learning in collaboration with local FM radio and television with the support of local government and various organizations. The Ministry of Education and Science Technology, Government of Nepal has already issued the Presidential Educational Reform Program Implementation, COVID-19 Contingency Plan 2020, and Learning Facilitation Guideline 2077 for students through alternative systems. NCDE has already reached the final stage of construction of materials for conducting virtual classes from class 1 to 8, has already conducted all the educational materials of class 9 and 10, and is conducting virtual class. Point number 77 states that arrangements will be made to provide online education by producing electronic teaching materials and to provide information technology laboratory and high-speed internet facility in all public secondary schools and campuses. Budget point number of fiscal year 2077-78. In 163, it has been mentioned that in view of the obstruction created in reading due to COVID-19, arrangements will be made to start the new academic session through virtual classroom operation, online education, television, and radio. Budget point no. In 162, the President's educational program emphasized teacher training, volunteer teacher mobilization, science laboratory, and information technology. Overall, the state of learning within our education system is traditional and education has not been restructured. And if our education policy plans and programs do not properly address the latest technologies such as virtual classes, schools and universities, our education is bound to be pushed back. However, the epidemic and the state of captivity have clarified Nepal's teaching and learning, the knowledge of technology in teachers and the place of technology in the infrastructure we have, and accordingly the whole country is moving forward in virtual learning, indicating a bright future. Therefore, the need for reforming education realized by COVID-19 is not seen as an option to be taken seriously by all the concerned parties and stakeholders. Procedures and measures to be adopted in the coming days. The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Government of Nepal has already arranged for the study to move forward by forming 5 groups as per the Student Learning Facilitation Guideline 2077 from the alternative system. Under this one, out of reach of all kinds of technology, 2. Radio and FM access only, 3. With access to television, 4. With computer but no online connectivity, 5. With access to the internet and information communication technology. Provision has been made for each school to coordinate with the local government and conduct classes based on access accordingly. Teaching activities can be continued on the basis of accessibility by the community, institutional and religious schools as per the above mentioned procedure in order to continue the teaching activities affected by the epidemic till the conditions are conducive for teaching and learning in the school. Point: each school can move forward by making institutional decisions about motivating students for self-study and what technology-related platforms can be used to move forward. Point: at the local level, based on the data obtained from the school, an environment can be created for alternative learning to facilitate the learning of the students in the learning group. Point: by arranging toll education programs in the schools in the rural areas, the work can be done by keeping in touch with the students and parents. Point: studying the effectiveness of various types of programs in operation from time to time, and if there is a need for improvement accordingly, it is possible to move forward to improve in time. Point: emphasis can be placed on the development of a mixed teaching system using special practices, reinforcement of learning methods, and distance learning to retrieve teaching sessions lost and left behind due to epidemics. Teaching and learning activities can be resumed on a case-by-case basis by creating an environment where each school guarantees its students, teachers, and staff are completely safe. Conclusion: Nepal's education system is improving. From 2007 to 2077, there have been a number of policy and institutional reform programs and initiatives in Nepal's education sector. Despite this, the use of technology from school level to university level and institutional development of technology-friendly educational environments is weak. In an environment where the world is currently plagued by the epidemic of COVID-19, such epidemics and challenges may have to be faced in the coming days as well. Since the main basis of human resources building of any country is development and expansion of the education sector, and economic growth of the country is not possible without development of human resources, lagging behind in education sector means lagging behind in overall economic growth of the country. The quality and growth of the education sector depends on the technology and investment used in it. In countries with the best education systems in the world, such as Finland, New Zealand, Norway, the United States, the United Kingdom, etc., about 6.5 to 7% of GDP is invested in education, while in Nepal, the average public investment in education over the last 20 years is about 3% of GDP. Only 70% seems to be insufficient for the use, expansion, and educational development of technology in education. After a detailed study and assessment of the current situation, the Government of Nepal, the Ministry of Education, policy makers, other governmental and non-governmental organizations, including schools and universities, need to move forward by declaring a decade of technology-friendly environment. Going forward in this way, the basis of a mixed, online and direct education system will be developed in the days to come, and it will play an important role in the economic development of the country by making the education system of Nepal technology-friendly and providing quality education.
Thanks for watching the video.